Welcome to the E-Team sponsored Chalk Talk. I'm your host, Brock Galvin. Tonight, we got a good crew of football guys and a random basketball guy on the show today, and we're going to get right into it. John Tyler High School head coach Ricklan Holmes is our guest. We're going to talk some man coverage. We're going to talk some Cujo Mojo, Friday Night Lights, and high school football out in the state of Texas. But we're starting with something that's near and dear to Coach Holmes' heart, and that is uniform swag. And so without further ado, we're going to take a look at E-Team sponsors' uniform swag, starting with Mr. Swag himself, at least in our office. That's the head coach of Concord High School, who I'm proudly repping, where I proudly played high school football, and that's Paul Reno.
All right, so the big thing is a lot of times your favorite uniform is tied with a favorite player. So that's why you got LeVar Arrington up there. NCAA football on the PlayStation. LeVar Arrington was the cover man, and that's right around the time I started playing college football, watching college football. So the blue and white for Penn State, always special. Frank Gore in the light orange white from Miami. As a Niner fan, Frank Gore has got a special place in everybody's heart. But those iconic Miami Hurricane uniforms from the early 2000s were huge as well. And then the two most recent ones, if there's somebody in college football making better uniforms than the service academies, for special occasions, I don't know who they are. But these two, being a history buff as well, Army rocking in the top there for the Big Red 1 for a few years ago, the first Army. And then another one, the 82nd Airborne, which they all also wore here in the all grays. So those Army Navy games, and then they let poor little Air Force join in every once in a while. But the Service Academy special uniforms definitely blowing everybody else out of the water.
I think I hear you on that, Paul. I think the service academies we might think would be the last type of school to have a swag out uniform, but they've done the individual patches for each of their troops is, I think, the deal setter for me. Let's go to our resident West Virginia basketball coach. Danny, you went with some West Coast flavor. Talk to us about these.
Yeah, I decided to step out of the West Virginia homerism for a second. 2010, they did have a great coal miner uniform, but to start in the classic section, UCLA, I don't know if it's just the blue and gold, but I like that light blue. The powder blue is just a great look there. And then there's two sections, classic and alternate. With alternate, you think of Oregon with uniforms. I know Coach Holmes mentions it in the talk, but the all white Oregon there with the reflective helmet is just a great look. And then TCU always brings some great uniforms out in big games. So yeah, those are the three I went with. There's so many good to choose from, but I think Paul's actually got me beat though.
The nice thing about those West Virginia uniforms is nobody would know what anthracite is if it wasn't for him. So gave us a new color for the lexicon.
Yeah, Ricklan Holmes says John Tyler High School, and y'all will hear this soon, is the Oregon of high school football. That's quite a statement. There's a lot of really good high school uniforms out there, but it would not have been fitting if none of y'all chose Oregon. So Danny, thank you for choosing Oregon, because let's be honest, this was the original Stormtrooper in which every other school has stolen, and it's a beautiful uniform. So good job. For someone who couldn't resist the homerism, we'll move to Dylan Cruz.
Yeah, I mean, not a classier uniform out there than old Trent Dilfer wearing the Fresno State white and red. So I went with the Homer uniforms. We got the first one, which is the traditional Coach Sweeney with the Bulldogs written out on the helmet. And then we got the all-black ones that we wore back in 2013. I think, LB, those look familiar to you, don't they?
Oh,
I think so. I think we wore them in the championship game. I'm not sure.
Keep rolling, please. Keep rolling.
But my favorite uniform that didn't make the cut is the Fresno State Coach Hill all reds, red helmet, white bulldog. I just couldn't find a clean picture of it, but yeah. swag.
Nice, man. Have you ever seen any other schools wear uniforms before, or just Fresno State? Or?
He only watches Fresno State football.
That's it.
Contractually obligated.
Yeah, I when I buy my cable, it's only Fresno State stations, so I don't even know the country.
At the end of this PowerPoint presentation, there will be a quiz on which two players were featured twice. Viewers, stay tuned. All right, next one we got a classic NFL uniform, and I have to just say a beautiful patriotic SEC uniform. Sean, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, we'll start with the one in the middle. I mean, that's the same colors as my high school alma mater, Clayton Valley High School. Red, white, and blue. Nothing gets more American than red, white, and blue. I love the Ole Miss, the baby blue or powder blue helmets that they wear once a year with the home reds and the silver breeches. So I'm a huge fan of that uniform. And then, I mean, when you think football and you think just rough, tough, amazingly physically gifted men running around with helmets and shoulder pads, they are wearing orange sherbet uniforms. And those, my friends, are the best uniforms in the history of the NFL. I love those uniforms. And until Tampa Bay brings those back, the Bucks don't exist in my world.
We couldn't get our boys
Brady. Gronk and Brady, man, this year, make it happen.
They'll get to the conference championship and lose to the Niners and them icy whites.
Yep, I like that, Paul. I like that.
Well, I think these are vastly different choices, but they're both interesting. I think the Ole Miss are beautiful. Again, someone who just can't watch another team play football, apparently, although you do have a good prospect in Jordan Woods. LB, talk to us about the blackout unis.
Jordan Love.
Same guy. Jordan Woods is the celebrity. Same thing.
Better put some respect on his name. He's getting drafted over Tua.
Yeah, Jordan Love.
He's going top 10.
Yeah, he's going.
Hey, California kid. Can't mess up the name.
Where's he going, LB?
Baker.
Don't know. It don't matter. First round is all that's all I care about. First round, Utah State.
LB's favorite team, the Detroit Lions, probably.
Let's not talk about that. Super Bowl champs, baby. Super Bowl champs. But yeah, Utah State. I mean, let's just take a moment just to stare at this real quick. It's beautiful, all black. Utah State, the first blackout ever this past year with Coach Gary Anderson up there. I mean, what else do you want me to say about this? I mean, if you got kids out there in Texas, coaches, let them know to they make sure you get your kids taken care of. But I mean, it's produced a quarterback, a first rounder. These black jerseys right here. So why wouldn't you go with Utah State? You know what I'm saying?
Okay, that's
Gary Anderson putting you on the payroll for there.
Yeah, that's decent.
Another
little recruiting sales pitch.
Oh yeah.
That's our Texas rep, LeBradford. If you can't tell, he's in sales. That was a decent sales pitch. All right, here we go. This is classic. Randy Coddington. What do we got?
All right, here's what we got here. I mean, this is what falling in love with football and college football in the early to mid 90s when I was starting off as a high school football player. This was it. You had the swag was the towel hanging, and then they limited only. After Florida State, everybody on the team had a towel hanging and swagging. You can just see that flying behind him when he's doing his pick six. And at one point in the season, I think it was his junior year, it was like game 6, and he had more points scored on defense than the other teams they played against during those games. And you just got that bright gold pants and the garnet and the spear on the helmet. And just the pads. I mimicked that in high school. Everybody knows my high school pictures, and my college pictures, the same thing. And I won with a single-digit linebacker like that. I just wanted to mimic Derek Brooks' favorite college player ever, and a favorite college uniform that really got me excited about this game.
Got to respect how fast the guy can be in high-top cleats up to his shin.
Dude, if that's not college football, a picture of college football, I don't know what is.
I don't know this guy right here.
He looks like he weighs 250 pounds. He came out, when he was drafted, he was under 220. So
It must be the neck roll.
yeah. And he
What year is this?
Still
Andy?
added 20 pounds.
Is this early 90s?
Yeah, like 93, 92,
'Cause
93.
I'm more like
That's
mid
good Florida
90s
State.
where we wear tights, where the Florida Gators were wearing tights
Yep.
and they're showing their abs. That was kind of peak uniform season for
Oh,
me.
he's
for
got a crop
Gators.
top on right there. He's got a crop top on right there.
Yeah, he's propped it up.
Yeah.
Everybody at Clayton Valley had tights and crop top jersey back in the day.
All right, so we have to come to a consensus. E-team coaching staff. We got Penn State. We got honestly, the service academies. This Miami one, I think, is We got the classic Pac-12. We got the new age Pac-12. We got a cool TCU, but they can't win. Fresno State's out. Buccaneers got to be out. Utah State. What are we thinking? Who's got Paul, I think you have to make the choice.
He's going to pick one.
No,
As painful.
Wow.
Since I picked the Miami Hurricanes one, I probably got to go with that. The Seminoles.
Yeah.
Stealing a Eastern State University Timberwolves look. Alvin Mack looking back here.
That's true, huh?
The Wolf Den Stadium mocking on a Saturday afternoon. Joe Kane at quarterback, so I'll probably have to go with the Seminoles, unfortunately.
All right, man. Well, the E-team sponsor uniform, best uniform ever, is a really basic Florida State early 90s uniform. So we obviously don't have as much swag as Ricklan Holmes at John Tyler High School, but I hope you all enjoy the interview with Coach Holmes. He's going to talk some press coverage. He's going to talk some Texas high school football, and we will see y'all after his interview. Thanks so much for joining. Hey, it's time to introduce you to today's guest. He is an East Texas legend, having played at famed John Tyler High School. Went on to play at Oklahoma State under Les Miles. Les Miles, right? He was there? You were there?
Bob Simmons and Les Miles, my last 2 years.
That's awesome. Played for the Patriots for a bit. He's been the head coach of John Tyler since 2012, where he's won a bunch of games, gone to a bunch of deep playoff appearances. And so I just wanted to give a Chalk Talk welcome to Ricklan Holmes. What's up, Coach? How are you?
Doing pretty good. How about y'all that way?
We're good, man. We're surviving as best we can during these times. But I was kind of doing some research. You and I have crossed paths a handful of times just because I have some connections out there. Married a Tyler girl. But I didn't know this in our previous conversations. 1994, you're playing freshman football at John Tyler High School. Probably the most famous high school football game of all time. John Tyler playing East. I thought it was a state championship, but I guess it wasn't when I was looking at it.
Actually,
You guys,
it was like the third round of playoffs. One of those type of deals. I finished my freshman year, but then he picks a couple of kids that he moves up to travel with him for the playoffs, and I was one of the few freshmen that got moved up during that time. So I was actually able to see, from the sideline view exactly what was going on. And if you talk to players like me and guys that were seniors and coaches that's on their staff, we really don't talk about it as much as everybody else talk about it across the country, because to us it wasn't that exciting. We made it exciting because if you go back and look at the game, we were blowing them out. Like we were killing them. And going into late into the fourth quarter, I think we kind of let our hair down and we got real relaxed, and that's when they started kicking out them onside kicks. And after they got the first one back, we was like, okay, it's fine. Hey, let's go on defense. Let's do what we need to do. But then they end up scoring. Then they done it again. And then they done it again. And we was like looking around, and now all of a sudden Coach Wilson is about to blow a gasket. And, guys, starting to figure out, hey man, like we're in trouble now. Like we're barely about to lose this game, so let's do what we need to do. And lo and behold, they decided to kick it deep. Still don't know why. That type of momentum. As a coach now, I've learned to just keep going with it because you never know what's going to happen. You just don't want to ever give anybody a chance to do anything against you. And I think if they would have kicked that one onside kick, even if they didn't get it back, time would have expired because we would have had to drive down the field. But they kicked it deep to Rod Dunn, and, the rest is history. He goes probably about 96, 97 yards for a touchdown, and that was the end of the game. We go on, we win that game, we win the next game, next two games, and then we go to the state championship and play Austin Westlake.
If you guys haven't looked it up before, I don't know what you're doing, but 41-17 with 3 minutes left. John Tyler kind of blows the lead, 44-41. Plano East kicks it deep for some reason with like only a few seconds left, and you guys take it to the house, and everyone goes crazy. And the announcers in the video is what makes it too.
They're the ones that made it the most exciting. How they was I think we're going to be sick, and we won an ESPY award for that game.
Really?
It was crazy, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. So that's a cool experience. You guys got to look it up if you haven't seen it yet. So obviously you have a great career at John Tyler. You have a great career at Oklahoma State. You're working out with the Patriots. I was reading that you decided to go back to Oklahoma and kind of stay in shape. Tell us about how you got into coaching at Putnam City.
Well, my ex-wife now and my daughter were still staying in Oklahoma when I was with New England. And during a time where I was released from New England, I was getting ready to go to different teams. I went back to Oklahoma and I was training. Ran across a stadium, Putnam City Stadium, went up there and asked the AD one day, did he mind me using his field? Well, the AD was the head basketball coach. He wasn't a football coach, named AD Birchie. So I had a great conversation. He said, no problem. I'll let, Coach Little know that you're using his facilities. And if you see somebody out there on the field, don't be alarmed, this and that. So, maybe a week or two passed by and I was using facilities, working out. And AD walked out there and one day he said, hey, Coach Little said he's want to come up here and he wants to meet you. I said, hey, that's fine. So I was wrapping up my workout. Coach Little walks out there on the field. He introduces himself. I introduce myself. We get to talking. And he's like, hey, I know you're in between teams and this and this and that. But he said, but hey, we're getting ready to start spring football. And if you're anywhere in the vicinity, I would love for you to come, maybe come up here, watch us, see what we're doing, give us some kind of, tidbit of information that you could give us. Even if you want to, you can help us at the drills. And I say, hey, that's fine. So spring ball started, and I was still working out. Had a couple of teams call me. Went to a couple of practices. Was watching them practice, showing them some drills. Jumping in with the DBs and showing them some stuff. And and then the next week, I think it was the second week after they was in spring ball, I got a call to go to Kansas City. And I was going to go fly up there to Kansas City, meet with the Chiefs. And went to the airport at Oklahoma City. And I was sitting there and, waiting to board my plane. And I picked up the phone, called my ex-wife at the time. She was my wife at the time. Called her and said, come pick me up. And she was like, why? I was like, I'm not going to Kansas City. And she's like, well, why? What happened? Did somebody call? Did they tell you don't come, this and that? I was like, hey, just call me, just come pick me up and I'll explain it to you when you get here. So I was sitting there waiting on her. I called my agent, Coach Brian Overstreet, and told him I had to say, man, draw up my papers, let everybody know that, I'm done. I'm not going back to play anymore. I got something else that I want to do. He's like, well, what happened? He's asking the same thing, asking the same question. I said, I'll explain it to you later. So when she picked me up, I picked up the phone in the car, and I called Coach Little and I asked him where he was. And he said, well, I'm still up here at the field house, but I'm getting ready to leave in about 15, 20 minutes. I said, well, could you wait for me to get there? I want to talk to you about something. So I get there and walk in the office, and we sit down, we're talking. He said, hey, I thought you was getting ready to go to Kansas City. I said, yeah, I did. I was, but I changed my mind because I want to talk to you about something. And he's like, what is that? I said, man, I really got a good feel for this coaching deal. And I think, by me doing this, it scratches my itch for continuing to try to play football at the next level. And I just see, how my coaches helped me develop into the person I am, and not just the person, but the player I became. And I want to do the same thing. He's like, are you serious? I said, yeah. He's like, so what you're saying is you want to coach with us? I said, if you got a spot for me, I'll help out. I'll be assistant coach at whatever position you want me to be at. And he gets up. He goes to some back room. He comes back with all his Putnam City gear. I'm like, yeah, I know you wear that. So here go your shirt. He said, hey, we're going to have practice again tomorrow. Love for you to be out there. We'll work it out. So that's how I got into coaching. And when I coached that first year, I wasn't teaching. I was just coaching. Oklahoma, you don't have to teach to coach football. So that first year, I was just a coach. We had a great season. Ended up losing in the semifinal game to Jinx. Got real close. Had a great season. Had some great kids too. Brian McCann was one of them that I coached in the secondary. He played in the league for maybe 4 or 5 years. Jeffrey Johnson, Tave Davis, and them, all them guys were real good football players. And that next year, I actually got into the teaching role. They was like, hey, had a conversation with Coach Little, Coach Birchie, and they was like, hey, one day you're going to go off somewhere else different, and you're going to need to have your certification in education. I said, that's fine. So they put me through the process to get my certification done since I already had my college degree. Basically, all I had to do was study for a test, take a test, take another test, go to a couple of classrooms, sit down, watch some teachers. With some of the stuff I had already been doing with the football team counted towards my hours of, observation. So I was pretty much certified in less than 5 months.
Oh, wow. And flash forward, all these years now, you went back to, JT and an assistant coach. Yeah. Now you've been the head coach since 2012. You guys have had a bunch of success. What's it been like being head coach at your alma mater? Like, what memories and moments stand out to you?
Well, the best memory was my first year as an assistant coach. Just being back home, walking through the same hallways I did as a student, sitting in a field house that I never really got to enjoy because they finished it my senior year. So just going back on, how our coaches interacted with us and the things that, I used to listen to them say, and they stayed with me throughout my life. And I was just thinking about stuff like that. And then my first year back as an assistant coach, we went 1-9. We didn't do very good. But the one game we did win was against my old coach, Coach Allen Wilson. He was at Dallas Corner. And that was the only game we won that year. So I remember that the most about being back at John Tyler and just, being an assistant coach, helping Coach Rush out. One thing that Coach Little told me, and he kind of installed in me as a young coach was this, is as an assistant coach, your main job is to make sure your coordinators have nothing to worry about. Your position is taken care of. You're doing everything you need to do. And when you become a coordinator, your job is to make sure that offense, that defense, that special teams, whatever it is taken care of because you don't want your head coach to worry about it. There's other things they got to worry about. So, I kept that mentality, when I came back to John Tyler and I worked under Coach Derek Rush and the DC at the time, which is still my DC coach, Harry Anderson. I told you never have to worry about second. I'm going to take care of that. Anything you need me to do, I'm going to do. A lot of the things they didn't need me to do, I've done, because I've always been a worker. I had never been a guy that just sit there and just watch everybody else after I get finished doing what I want to do or what I'm supposed to do. I've always been around to help people. So I remember that as an assistant coach. And when I hire my assistant coaches, I'm looking for guys to be like that guy I was when I was an assistant coach.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think in any leader, there's a philosophy behind it. And obviously you had some good mentors along the way. We talked about Les Miles and obviously the coaches before you and the tradition at John Tyler. What kind of makes up your philosophy? I remember meeting in your office a few years back and even last year, actually, when we were able to catch up, just talking about your linebacker core and how they're all your 4x1 sprinters and significance of track to your program and just what all kind of culminates into the philosophy behind how you run, your John Tyler football program as a head coach.
Well, first and foremost, I always look at John Tyler as a normal program. I don't think everybody else looks at us as that way because of the success that we have, but we really are a normal program. There are a couple of deals that you can't control in kids, but there's a lot that you can control. Size, height, I can't do anything about that. But we can be the fastest team on the field. We can be the strongest team on the field. We can be the smartest team on the field. And that's why track is so important with us. You know, every skilled kid at John Tyler High School runs track. There's nothing to go to a track meet and see John Tyler out there with 70 kids. You know, we got 3 kids in every event, from the field events all the way to all the 3,200-meter run. So, you know, we're teaching our kids how to compete, but at the same time, we're developing their speed, you know, saying making sure that technique is where it needs to be, because all that translates to the football field. I tell our kids every year at the beginning of the track season, and we didn't get to finish this year, but I said, when you go against that kid that's getting ready to go to Missouri or getting ready to go to Baylor or wherever he's getting ready to go to run college track, he's running track for a different reason than you. You're running track so that you either don't get caught on Friday or you're able to go catch somebody on Friday. You know, he's running because he's trying to get a full scholarship to go compete at this and probably make a career of it. You know, so yes, you're probably not going to beat him, but I better see you compete hard enough to try to beat him. You know, sometimes it works out. We end up beating some guys. You know, we had a world-class sprinter this year, Keaton Crawford, that signed with the University of Texas. You know, he was just one of those special kids. So, you know, our philosophy is what it's going to be. We're going to be fast. We're going to be strong. We may not be the biggest, but we're going to make sure we know everything that we're supposed to know, and we're going to do everything that we need to do. And that comes with work. I don't know any other way to get better at what you're supposed to do than doing what you need to do to get well. I've never seen anybody get stronger but not lifting weights. I've never seen anybody get smarter but not picking up a book. You know, so, you know, those type of aspects come into what we do as a football program to develop our kids, not just for football, but for life after football.
Yeah. Well, I know that you're a worker. I always see the daily workouts that you post, and it kind of put mine to shame. I also see the daily swag, the daily Nike fitted outfits. Talk to me about swag, man. Where'd that come from? That's a part of your vibe. How'd that start? And yeah, just kind of talk us through some swag.
Well, I grew up in an era, shout out to Deion Sanders, you know, where, you know,
Prime.
It was
E-team client, by the way.
He was,
E-team
yeah.
client.
Okay. You know, I grew up watching him, you know, seeing what he done, seeing how he presented himself, not just as a football player, but as a brand. And that's how I look at John Tyler High School. That's how I look at myself. That's how I look at everything that we do. And, you know, thank God that we got a great contract with Nike through BSN to where we're able to do things of that nature, because I've always, just like Deion Sanders, if you look good, you play good, you feel good, and you go out there, you need to get it done. So far, so good. You know, our kids are looking good. They feeling good. They playing good. We're winning a lot of games. And they're having fun doing it. You know, I like to see the faces on our kids, especially the young kids that's getting ready to come to John Tyler. You know, that's the first thing that come out their mouth. You know, I can't wait to put on the black uniform. I can't wait to have the whole Cujo uniform that only comes out, you know, during the playoffs. So, you know, those type of deals, they come in handy, especially when you want kids to come to John Tyler. You want kids to be a part of John Tyler. We had an article on us probably about 6-7 years ago. They called us the High School Oregon because of the different amount of uniforms that we have in combination. So,
yeah, I mean, you're trying to get dudes out to play football, and it's just another way to get kids on campus to want to play. I think there's no denying that. We even talk about it from a fundraising standpoint as we're talking to coaches and clients is, hey, like, we remember as athletes, one of the most exciting days was the day you get the new Spirit Pack or the new jerseys, or if you're a captain, like I remember getting to, you know, you get to actually choose what uniform it's going to be. You know, coach will pull you into the office. Like, those are great memories. And yeah, you guys are always fitted. And I think it's a part of the game now more than ever too. Like you're saying, the Oregon high school football, like Oregon, I think kind of started at the college level and just all these crazy uniforms, but now you're seeing it all over. Before we get into a little bit of chalk talk, a little bit of press coverage, wanted to do a little 2-minute drill. That's what we do on the Chalk Talk. I got an East Texas edition for you. So kind of rapid fire answers, 1 to 2 sentences. First thing, Stanley's Barbecue, one of probably the best barbecue I've ever had. What's your order? Walk us through your order at Stanley's Barbecue.
First of all, they already know me and Stanley, so as soon as I walk through the door, he already know, or she already know I want the brother-in-law. So the brother-in-law sandwich is the gold sandwich for me. Every once in a while, I come in there and I switch it up for him, and I give me a real plate.
Okay. For those who don't know what the brother-in-law is, because they haven't been to Stanley's in East Texas, which one is that?
Okay, the brother-in-law is a combination of brisket, link, and you can choose to have an egg on it. And if you don't choose the egg on it, then I think it's called the mother-in-law.
Okay. I love it, man. That place is crazy, and I always bring back some, like, all the rubs, the barbecue sauce, everything.
Yeah.
That place is unreal. Man or zone coverage?
I'm a man guy. I believe if I can get in your face and play press coverage and get my hands on you, I give my linebackers, I give my D-line, I give them a great opportunity to get to the quarterback and make some things happen, because we're going to disrupt what he's doing.
Cujo in one sentence.
Never quit, never die. That's our motto until the end of time.
Love it. I was a Friday Night Lights guy, so I watched Permian stuff. You mentioned Dallas Carter playing them, but Mojo was their deal, and I remember learning about Cujo.
We was actually
playing
Odessa Permian. This was back in the day. Forgot
exactly
the time, but it was a close game. Things was going back and forth, and Odessa side was yelling Mojo, and I guess the Cujo movie was either popular at the time or just came out, and somebody on the John Tyler side of the stand started yelling Cujo, and it just started from there.
I love it. Best thing about Tyler, Texas?
John Tyler High School.
Let's go.
By Tyler, Texas. I love our crosstown rival. They're in a different class than we're in, and I want to see them win, except for that one time out of the year that they're on the opposite sideline of me.
Yep, I like it. And then one word that describes why you love coaching.
The kids. It's all about the kids. Seeing them go off and sign scholarships and go get their education paid for, and then later on in life, getting an email or getting a text message saying, hey, my son or my daughter was born, or coach, can you make it to my wedding? Things of that nature.
Yep, I love it, man. All right, well, let's coach us up for a little bit here. I know you can share your screen there and walk us through. You're a big DB guy.
All right. Well, this is our motto, play like a JT Lion. With all our sponsors up there, as you can see, we like to brand ourselves. Press coverage. Press coverage is something that I've always been a fan of, because it's called the grand equalizer of the football game. So when we teach our kids, we tell them that this is the grand equalizer. For cover two and man coverage, DBs must have quick feet. It takes the timing away from the receiver because you're in their face. We make sure that they have a great stance, a flat back, slight bend in the knees. You can turn the knees in to get on their toes. Make sure their hands is at waist level or in front of their face. You see a lot of DBs line up in front of their face. They got their hands down by their knees and almost touching the ground, where the first thing they're going to have to do is put their hands back up like they're getting ready to fight. Feet shoulder width apart, not too wide. I know some of them want to be like Deion Sanders and put their feet out wide, but Deion Sanders ran a 4.2 something. And a lot of these kids ain't running that. So technique is important. Shoulders should never rise in what we call a 5-yard window. And as you can see, this is how we work on our 5-yard window. We line a receiver up, we line a corner up, and you got a 5-yard window. We tell him to disrupt the receivers. 5 yards to the right, 5 yards to the left, 5 yards behind them, 5 yards behind you. And that's how you reroute your receivers in that 5-yard window. On the movement, our wide receiver and the DB feet should never separate. As long as the wide receiver's in the cylinder and the DB can two-hand jam. And what we mean by the cylinder is if you spread your arms out from your right side to your left side, as long as they're within that window of area, you can always get two hands on them. Knowing this, wide receiver coaches, they love teaching their guys foot fire. to try to get you to get jittery and all that great stuff. So wide receiver, foot fire at the line of scrimmage, all they're trying to do is just trying to make you come to bounce. That's all they're trying to do, just trying to make the DB choose a side. So, when we're in man coverage, we're playing inside leverage. When we're in cover 2 coverage, we're playing outside leverage. I remember to focus on the hips. I tell our guys all the time, I've never seen no one but a hula dancer fake you out with their hips. They're going to use their head. They're going to use their shoulders. Sometimes they'll try to do some crazy stuff with their feet. Once the receiver is outside the center of the DV, he must kick step, and now we will what we call a one-hand jam. Try to make sure we stay on top of the receivers so that we can either break up the deep ball or undercut and drive for the underneath ball. Press coverage, like I said, it's about alignment. We're going to split the body of the receiver. If it's cover 2, we're going to split the body of the receiver outside. If it's man covered, we're going to split the body of the receiver inside. If the wide receivers align 1 yard off the ball, then we move what we call foot to foot. Wide receiver off the line of scrimmage, we crowd the line of scrimmage to get up as close as possible. The purpose of the drills that we do is to work on our feet and our hand positioning. I think all great corners, all great safeties that cover, even great linebackers that are able to cover, they got great feet, they got great hand placement, and they know what to do by positioning their body to stay within the cylinder so that they can two-hand jam. And our motto is this: when the ball is in the air, 3 things you got to do. 1, intercept it. We already know we're not going to get all the interceptions in the world. But if you don't get the interception, second thing is all down. All down, because at the end of the day, you're there to make sure that receiver doesn't catch the ball. And if all else fail, draw flag. We'll take the 15-yard penalty over the 60-yard touchdown any day. I promise you that. So that's our deal for press coverage. I got a video that shows a little bit of what we do as far as press coverage. We got some guys, they got some things that they do for us. There it is. Go back here. Right here. It's going to be our guy that's going to Texas, Keaton Crawford, at the top right here. You see what he's going to be doing. As you see, this is man coverage. And if you notice, he's aligned inside. So inside we want to force that guy outside. We want to take away the slant. We want them to throw the fade. And he does a great job getting his hands on this guy and forcing him all the way out of bounds and actually getting a lot more physical than most receivers want to get physical with. So I think he done a great job doing that. And like I said, he played the perfect technique. He got outside the center, he one-hand jammed him and pushed him all the way out of bounds. Right here, we got a guy in a man cover, like I said, inside leverage, force the guy, ride him inside. Only thing I want him to do is do a better job of getting on top of the receiver. Right here, we got cover 2. As you notice, the guy's outside leverage because we want to force him inside. We telling this safety right here, he's reading 2, playing 1. We telling him he's playing number 1, getting hands on him, but he's reading number 2. If he does a great job getting his hands on number 1, then he already know I only got 1 guy to try to cover now on top. But if he don't do a great job doing it, it puts a lot of stress on this safety right here to where now he got to play 2 deep routes, and that's something that we really don't want him doing. So right here, he does a great job making the guy stutter, and as you can see, we only got 1 vertical threat by that number 2 receiver at the top. So that's a great job. Another one on cover 2. He ended up letting the guy get outside his shoulder, but he forced him back inside, and he carried the vertical route, therefore giving up this right here to the safety, making it know that, hey, I only got 1 guy to cover. Safety kind of drove late on it, but that's great coverage once again. We got a combination of things that we do where we play man and cover 2, depending on the defense and the formation. This guy right here at the top, he's going to be an inside leverage. He know right now I got this number 1 receiver. This guy at the bottom right here, outside leverage. He's going to be jamming 1, reading 2. Safety's going to be over the top. Good job by the top corner, forcing him outside, making him run the fade. Good job by this bottom corner right here, making sure he kept outside leverage, because at the bottom, we don't want him to run the fade. We want him to run the slant. We want him to run the post. Right here, we don't want him to run the slant. We want him to run the fade. So that's what we're doing there. Another one playing cover 2 at the top. Don't like his alignment. He's more head up than outside. As you see right here, coming off the block, making the tackle. Great job by him on the finish, but not the start because of his alignment. Good job, two-hand jam, riding him, get rid of him to the inside, not the outside, because you're protecting the outside and making the play, driving up the field. It's one of our corners that's returning this year. He's going to be a good kid for us. Cover 2, this is him once again, coming back, two-hand jam, release him inside, find the ball. The reason we got our guys lined up outside because we want to get them hands on them, looking inside, because that's his number 2. That's his read. So he's reacting off of him. As you can see right here, he done a great job. Eyes inside, getting rid of him, and going to make a play. Right here, we got cover 2 once again. This is his number 2 that he's reading, making sure he's getting hand on one, riding him inside, and staying with that guy and helping that safety out. By him getting hands on him, as you can see, it makes him react a lot faster to safety because he know he only have one guy to really worry about. Great job. Linebacker done a terrible job playing underneath, but hey, sometimes offense got to make plays too. Right here, we got man coverage. Once again, inside leverage, great job, great hands, getting the guy, forcing him outside and making him make a bad throw because he had no room for error right here with this sideline and forcing him out there. See the foot fire at the beginning, trying to get our DB to move. He done a great job staying inside. A lot of DBs will line up inside, and as soon as that wide receiver feet start stuttering, he get either outside or he drive head up on the receiver. And if you get head up, you just gave that receiver a two-way go, and that's dangerous. Great job by the corner there. So that's our man coverage and cover 2 that we do with press coverage. Like I say, I got my secondary staff, Coach Moore that coaches the corners, and Coach Cooper that coaches my safeties. They've been with me for a while now, and they understand everything I want done in the secondary. I try not to go over there as much as I do sometimes, but they know that's one of my loves, and the secondary is kind of my baby. Some people that have came to watch us at practice, colleges, they say I remind them a lot of Gary Patterson because of my involvement with the secondary.
Yeah, when it's your baby, it's hard not to, especially when you know the right way. It's got to be done and whatnot. But it sounds like you got some good assistants who you can trust with the group. Well, thanks for – my dad was actually a secondary coach for probably over a decade out here. And he was a big man guy too. Loved the press. So I was excited to kind of see you work us through this. I'm sure it'll help some folks out there. Before I let you run, last question. How do you think football is going to be different this fall? Obviously, we're going through this COVID pandemic, and we know that it's going to be different practicing. You before we started recording, we talked about kind of how you guys were working out and communicating with the team. But if you were to look into a crystal ball, I know it's probably pretty murky, but what are you seeing out in Texas?
Well, the thing that I see is the summer's going to be real quick and real short. I think that a lot of stuff is going to get moved up, not just schools opening up and starting classes back, but I see our season maybe getting moved up and starting out a lot quicker and earlier than normal. Everybody didn't get to have spring football, so you get to have those 2 scrimmages. I think they still may cut away that 1 scrimmage and just have 1 scrimmage instead of 2 so that you can speed up the process of the football season. And probably I'm looking at us probably starting a week earlier than we normally did because of the length of our playoff schedule. You don't want to go too deep off into November and December because of everything we done heard about the weather and how it affects COVID-19 and all that stuff. So I see that moving up. I see a real quick and fast, short summer. Like I told my coaches when we meet during the week, making sure the things that we're going over in our Zoom meeting with our positional kids, kind of proactive towards what we need done, getting ready to go back into the summer because we will have time to work with them in the summer. How long that's going to be, like I said, it's probably going to be quick. It's probably going to be short. I don't look at 7-on-7 being a deal this year. I think all 7-on-7 tournaments are probably going to get canceled. But if you got a great relationship like we do here in East Texas, we're going to still have some time to where we'll meet up with different teams and we'll play basically our own 7-on-7 game, because I just can't see us having a tournament to where it's 600, 700 people in one area right now, as fresh as it's going to be, knowing that we're getting ready to play a football season where it's going to be thousands and thousands of people together.
Yeah. Well, shoot, man, we're definitely hoping for the best. We're all itching. I'm sure you watched the Michael Jordan documentary last night, and just we're itching for sports, for anything, man. And it's been hard for us here at E-Team Sponsor too. But appreciate you taking time out of your day and hanging out with us. Nothing but love for Cujo and John Tyler football, and going to be excited to watch the team this fall. But thanks for coming on, man.
Thank y'all for having me. I really enjoyed this, man. Good time.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Chalk Talk with the E-Team coaching staff. Awesome interview with Coach Holmes. Actually, while the interview was happening, the rest of our team had a chance to take a look at that 1994 classic. Really, the star of the show was not John Tyler and their improbable kickoff return for the touchdown or the crazy comeback from being down 41-17. It was the Plano East announcers. Those guys were a riot. They're hilarious. And like Coach Holmes said, he said, we kind of let our hair down, which if that's not a Texas phrase, I don't know what is. They kind of let our hair down. Coach Wilson was about to blow a gasket, and then for some reason, Plano East kicked it deep. So fun stuff. Before we get some Texas high school football talk from the crew, especially our Texas rep, Bradford, we got to hear from our West Virginia fan, and it's time for the Mountaineer Minute. This time it's presented by Four Roses Bourbon. Take it away, Danny.
Yeah, I've got a bit of a bone to pick this week. So this past weekend was supposed to be the spring game for a lot of different schools out there. West Virginia had the great idea of doing a virtual spring game. A lot of highlights from the past. Some Major Harris touchdown runs against Penn State. Obviously some Pat White, Noel Devine, Steve Slayton, Bruce Irvin, just a bunch of, just legendary players. But unfortunately, watching ESPN, all I saw was credit going to Nebraska for the virtual spring game. No love to West Virginia for having that on Saturday. So yeah, just because they're not a blue blood doesn't mean they don't reserve respect. So a little bit of a bone to pick with West Virginia, but it was great to see those highlights. Quincy Wilson running over Brandon Merriweather for one of those really good Miami teams. Sorry, Sean. Was a fantastic highlight. Just a bunch of great clips on there. It's at WVU football. If you want to see some great highlights. So
how many 2007 Pitt highlights were there?
So yeah, there's just a lot of Tavon Austin touchdowns. Just some great stuff there.
Not in that game.
I have a question, Danny. I have a question. Was there ever another season of West Virginia football where they were good, or was it just those 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, it's a great question now, and I'll answer that. Within 1988, I did mention
the year I was born. Great.
Major Harris.
A great touchdown run against Penn State to end the season undefeated. Ended up losing to not win the national championship, but. A great season there. A couple Fiesta Bowl wins. They did beat Oklahoma the year they had Sam Bradford. Owen Schmidt, runaway beer truck, had a long touchdown.
I liked him.
That game.
Runaway beer
They've had a couple good seasons.
They had famous Amos Zaraway.
They did have him. Avon Coburn, Rasheed Marshall. I mean, there's so many names. We can do that game if we like.
Well, thank you for that. That was good. Any other? Just want to give you your moment. Anything else? Is that it? We're good.
18th ranked recruiting class in the country, so things are looking up.
Let's talk about a state that actually knows how to play football, which is the state of Texas. What makes Texas high school football special? LB, aka Biscuit, we'll start with you.
I think it's just the support from the community. Honestly, I didn't go to a big school. Went to Crowley. I guess you can say it's a decent size, but even senior year at our football games, it's pretty much sold out. Uh, the reason why, just the community behind us was so big. One game in particular, Cleveland High School, a homecoming game. Uh, that game was so packed that move our high school band to the south side of the end zone so they can have enough stands for fans to come fill in to pack the stands. But I mean, it's a different feeling. Uh, Fans are crazy out there. It's like a smaller college. It's awesome. Then you can always go to the Duncanville and Rockwall game that I went to this year when they played at McKinney ISD, which had 47,000 fans there in their new facility. It's something that I was blessed to play in and to play in Texas. It's something that you can't get back in high school. So every day I miss the Friday night lights. I miss warming up. Coming out with just a helmet on with my shirt on and doing some swaggy trend like having my shirt up or some nonsense like that. But it's something that it's awesome. It's something that I will never get back and something I truly miss about Texas high school football. So I'll be attending a lot more games. John Tyler's one, DeSoto, Duncanville, Cedar Hill. I'll be attending all those games as much as I can.
Yeah, I'll never forget my wife's disappointment in going from Texas high school football, where she attended high school, 15, 20 grand at an average game, to a Division I FCS program in California, UC Davis, where we were lucky to get 10,000 at a game. And you kind of associate the quality of football with the amount of people there. She's like, this is just crappy football. But Sean, I know you had the book. I know you've read it. We both started our book writing careers by writing reports on Friday Night Lights. Talk to us about that effect on you. I know the pictures in the middle. I love the pictures in the middle. Talk to us about it.
Amazing. I was just telling the story to you guys before we started the call, but I want to give a shout out to my Aunt Penny. She bought me this book, and she had said, I noticed you're fond for football, and I started playing football when I was in third grade. I was 8 years old, and in my stocking for Christmas as a fifth grader, so 10 years old, she said, you're going to learn how real people play football down in the state of Texas. And so she bought me this book, and I'm forever grateful because it took my mind and imagination to a place about football. I didn't really understand it. I mean, I loved playing the game. I played quarterback, and it was amazing. I fell in love with Boobie Miles. Boobie Miles, that was my guy. I always said that if I had ever changed positions and played running back, I'd wear number 35 for Boobie Miles. The term mojo, Letterman jackets, Letterman jackets with the state championship or state finalist patches down the side. I mean, I could not wait to get to high school to play underneath the Friday Night Lights and get an opportunity to earn, a patch on the shoulder on the Letterman jacket. There's just so much that I took from it, and it took me back. Listening to Coach Holmes talk about some of his experiences, not just as a coach, but as a player, obviously in the game that we were just referencing. So, it made me want to be a part of a high school football team. And I know that was, you set goals maybe as a youngster, and they might be audacious and crazy at the time. But for me, my goals were pretty simple. I wanted to play high school football. I wanted to be the quarterback of the high school football team. And it was always, thinking back to what it was like to be at Permian High School. And that was my takeaway.
Paul, Dylan, how about y'all?
I don't have Clayton Valley, when I was growing up, I lived around the corner from, didn't have lights. They played elsewhere. So I actually didn't even know that the high school existed until, I got there. And, my first foray into playing football was in high school. So playing 3:00 games was nothing new. But unfortunately, I didn't read Friday Night Lights until I got older, probably in college when the show came out, the movie came out, all that other stuff. But probably my first inkling that football in Texas is a little bit different was a piece of cinema verite known as Varsity Blues. And I remember that came out when I was in high school, probably a junior. And, just the nonsense that was on there was obviously exaggerated, but, that made me realize, this Texas thing's a little different. You start learning more about, playing high school football, how it's a little different. You see stadiums with capacity, bigger than, the college you played in, and those seats are filled. You understand it's a different lifestyle, kind of a whole different, animal than kind of what you're used to. And it's awesome that they have that kind of support, that kind of energy for it, and get the whole community behind it, which, not always going to say Texas, the football there is better than California. I'm going to rep my state for sure. But the support is phenomenal, and definitely outstrips what we have out here in California a lot of times.
It's real football out there.
It is, man. And we're hoping that it sounds like what Coach Holmes said is they are planning on moving the season up because of the COVID crisis and staying away from the winter season. We all know that if Texans can find a way to play football, they're going to find a way to play football. And so, honestly, I hope they're able to do that, of course, in a safe way. But appreciate Coach Holmes hopping on the podcast. Appreciate all y'all as well. And we will see you soon. Thanks, everyone, for coming on. And please like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon.